What's up, everybody? It's your favorite four-armed monsters, favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Storm Collectibles Goro, which I'm really excited to take a look at. He does come with a ton of accessories, so let's just start there. He comes with two ponytail options. They're both decoed the same. This one has a heavier wash on the kind of goldish paint that's painted on there, and then you have the hair that's all sculpted, but they both have the wash. It's just this one's hit a little harder for whatever reason. This one's more in a dynamic look, and then this one's sort of straight down, and that simply plugs into the top of his head. The one that goes straight down does bump up against his skin a lot, which starts to kind of work this way out, so that's not the best. The one that has a little bit more life to it works a bit better, but it's still, it's a hard connection to get because of the softer plastics, but it's there. So he comes with the 4 fist hands out of the box, and then he comes with 2 kind of slightly closed hands and slightly open hands for each of the 4 hands. He comes with one face that hates lima beans, but it looks pretty good. It's decoed the same way as the one he has on, which we'll talk about when we get there, with the exception of the teeth, which are all painted. The gums are painted purple, and then the teeth are painted like shades of a rotten sort of flesh, and it ends up looking very nice. Then he comes with a display base that has 2 different options. You can pretty much use this one to plug into the bottom, and then using this port, you can plug in a clip to hold something, or you can plug in this, which will hold the following accessory. A translucent fist fire accessory, which goes from this darker green to this much lighter green, and then it has the peg hole right there, which fits into there with no problem. It is an awful lot of joints that ratchet, 1, 2, 3, 4, plus you get the swivel up top and the swivel down below in 2 different placements for it, but it's a little excessive, and as a result kind of makes it a bit unsightly, but it's better to have it with the unsightliness than to not have it at all. And let's talk about the figure. So, the head sculpt. I think it looks great. Beautifully done. Extremely well painted with all sorts of shading. A lot of it looking like airbrush throughout this figure. It looks very nice. The lips are painted, the eyes are painted. The eye, like the black on the eyes is painted. All the little sort of freckles and stuff. It just looks really, really good. So, the head is obviously removable. I'm trying to get a... But you can see a double ball peg here from the head into the neck. Using that, you can get the head a good bit down, a good bit up, side to side, confused dog look, etc. Now, it is kind of true to form with what we've seen with Storm Collectibles in the past, where the frame of the figure is there and then it's this softer piece of like rubbery plastic to not get in the way of articulation. Now on Shao Kahn, it bothered me a bit because of the price of the figure, but with this guy, with his general size, the amount of accessories, the paint, like, I feel better about it here. I can't explain why, but I do. So this is on a ball peg as well, this upper piece, and it feels like a double to me. Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and yes, it is. And then the lower section connected to the pelvis is on a single. Using both, look how far you can get him over. Obviously, there's some gappage in the back, which doesn't bother me. There is some gappage on this figure that does bother me, but we'll get there. And that far back. So extremely well done. You get the swivel at both, so that shouldn't be an issue. And you can do the little teapot, etc. Tons of shading throughout on the flesh tones, including the monster nips. And then the back has that airbrushing with the freckles painted on. So extremely well decoed throughout. You're gonna probably get tired of hearing me say that, but it is. So then the shoulders. Now I'm having a hard time telling exactly, there it is. So it's a disc hinge, which is what I imagined it was, that connects into a ball peg in the chest. It has a cut around the chest so that you can get the arm fairly far forward and back on that ball peg. And actually you can probably get a little bit more. You get the arm, all right, I popped it off. So that's the limit of it. And they could have probably continued this cut up a little bit further for even more articulation. I don't think that's in all the way, but we'll see. But they did it for the sake of sculpt so that it would be clean at the top. That's going to come down to a subjective sort of opinion on the matter. I wouldn't have minded the joints. It's not like this is the cleanest figure in the sense of not seeing any joints. It's obvious here, here, and then down there, which we'll talk about in a bit. So I wouldn't have minded it for more articulation, but it's not the worst thing in the world either. And then you get the swivel, obviously, where the ball peg connects. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbow that gets you 90 degrees, and then the wrists are on ball hinges or ball pegs, a ball peg on a hinge. I don't usually call that ball hinges, do I? No, I don't. Maybe I do. We'll say it for now. I'm at a loss of words. It's been a busy week. So you get a hinge in, out. You can swivel it at both sides and get the up and down as well. So no issues there. And then we have the gauntlets that are painted with that gold, and then a heavy wash is applied, and it looks quite nice. You have the same sort of decos on the arm with the airbrushing for the shading on the back, the freckles, and then the subtle sort of shading on the skin tones. Fantastic. And then the fingers are all painted, the fingernails are all painted black, and it's like a glossy black, so that's a nice choice as well. The lower arms, this is the same disc hinge here, gets you out to the side about to there, which is fine. I like this a bit more than this one. I wish you could get this one further up, and then I'd be fine with this one kind of being where it's at. And then you get the swivel as well, bicep swivel, double hinged elbow, wrist is the same situation. It's pretty much the same piece, just pegged in at a different spot here. This has the harder sculpt at the abdomen, like it's just a softer piece here, so you can't get these arms that far in front of the figure, which is okay. I think I prefer that because it helps with the build. Moving down, we have the belt, which also it's shaded, and then the yin yang is painted on there quite well. And then you had the flaps. It would have been nice if these were on a peg so you could articulate them. It's a softer plastic, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. And then you have the briefs, which maybe looks slightly too small proportionately to the figure. They also create this gap here, which is a bit unsightly, and in my opinion is the only unsightly thing about this figure, which is a bit of a bummer. On the back, it looks great. Legs are shaded perfectly, once again with that darker up here towards the top and the freckles, and then all of the sort of subtle shading down in the lower skin tones, which looks good, and then all like the vascular nature of it, all that works well. You have universals for hips that get you the full Van Damme, moving around this softer plastic for the pelvis piece, and the full Monty. A little bit of the Fans Toy squeak going on there, but that's okay with me. Thigh swivel, built around the universal, so no issues there. Double jointed knee that gets you 90 degrees back. Same sort of shading subtly for the lower legs, and then you have the wraps around the ankles, which are all washed and look good enough. Here is my other issue with this figure. I can't tell exactly where this plugs in, but you lose a lot of articulation in the feet. The sculpt is fairly flawless, but the articulation suffers. So you don't really get much of an ankle tilt up nor down. You do get a toe hinge that works pretty well. And then nothing really for the rocker. And that, I mean, you get a little bit, don't get me wrong, but that's kind of the biggest sort of shortcoming of this figure in terms of engineering are the ankles. It is a weighty figure, so they may have done it for those reasons. And then there he is from the back, which looks fantastic. And, you know, a lot of times companies will skimp out sort of on the back details, but they really went for it on this, and it's appreciated. Size comparison wise, there he is next to a Marvel Legend and Sub-Zero. So really great size, very imposing figure. And there it is on my shelf. It looks very good. I can't wait to do a diorama for the Mortal Kombat stuff. And I just made some changes recently to my display, so I got some more space to kind of work with. And I can't wait. I'm sure that they'll inevitably do a Kintaro? Is it Kintaro or Kintaro? I can't remember now. But I'm sure they'll inevitably do one of those, and I'll put him on the other side, make him flank Shao Kahn. It should look great. Final thoughts wise, for the negatives, it's a very clean figure, so the gappiness around the hips does tend to stick out. Obviously, when you have him posed dynamically like this, you'll never notice, and it does give you that option, so that's nice. But in most sort of display A stances, it's going to show. My other big complaint are the ankles and the limited articulation within them. I understand that he's a big figure and a weighty figure, so they need to be supported and strong in order to make the figure work. That being said, it would have been nice to have a little bit more mobility out of him. A minor gripe would would be the upper arms being able to move up a bit further, but that's really it. Positives wise, the sculpt is awesome. The paint is second to none. The articulation for 90% of it works beautifully. Tons of accessories, strong presence, decent build and hardware. This company continues to kind of impress me. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the Mortal Kombat line. It's nice to get away from some ninjas. I didn't even bother reviewing the Smoke and Rain because it just got so tiresome. And I'm also very curious to see what they end up doing with that Injustice line. That has my name written all over it. So it is a recommend for me. Just be aware of its few limitations. They can be burdensome. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.